Hello everyone, the Pretty Kitty here. And first off, I would like to apologize for the audio quality and also acknowledge that I know it has been quite some time since I've uploaded a YouTube video, but I promise you that I have a valid excuse for both. That being, my boyfriend and I were almost killed in a fire which took just about everything we own, good microphone included. That's why the crappy audio. I managed to escape with only a few minor injuries. Unfortunately for my boyfriend, he had second degree and borderline third degree burns all over his arms and his face. It took a few months for me to nurse him back to health and pick up the pieces, so that's why it's been so long since I've made a YouTube video. But I'm happy to report that we are pretty much back on our feet now and doing very well for ourselves. Little update, I went to San Francisco to meet up with Blair White for her birthday meetup. Here's some video.
I love your outfit.
Thank you. So I'm so sweaty. I'm the Pretty Kitty on YouTube. You inspired me to start that channel. I just wanted to know that.
Oh yeah.
And my daughter, she wanted to be here today too, but she had to work, and she wanted to know if you would say hi to her.
Yeah. Are we on live?
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
There we go.
I wish you were here. Teresa, her name's Teresa. Hi, Teresa.
She said, oh, there she is. Yeah.
Tell her to message me and I'll follow her and stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh my god. I'm gonna put it in the bag and open everything when I get home. But
Okay. All right. Microphone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Open it now. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just want to say that that was actually a really fun trip, and Blair White is such a nice and really down-to-earth person, and she's great. It got me thinking. I've been wanting to do a video about this topic for a while now, but kind of had a challenging time getting my thoughts together on this. Now, you'll have to forgive me, this video is not scripted right now, I'm just kind of going freestyle at the moment. The topic of today's video is my theory on why there is such a recent surge and such a push, and not just that, but such a government backing when it comes to trans children and drag queen story time and hormone therapy and puberty blockers for kids. Why is there such a push for acceptance? And this is my theory. And get ready to put on your tinfoil hats here. Yes, I think it's a conspiracy, a government conspiracy. I think it's one big government experiment on our kids and transgender people. Okay, hear me out. The theory of mine, well, the idea of it first came into my head after coming across a YouTuber. His channel's called Horror Stories. I came across one of his videos.
Bruce Reimer was a boy born in Winnipeg, Canada, alongside his twin brother Brian on August 22, 1965. As the twins started growing, they showed some problems urinating due to phimosis, a condition in which foreskin cannot be pulled back off the head of the penis. When the boys were 7 months old, their parents Janet and Ronald Reimer took them to get circumcised in order to fix the problem. What the parents didn't know was that the doctor in charge of the circumcision was using a method of cauterization, a burning technique, instead of a traditional blade. During the procedure, Bruce Reimer suffered a horrible accident which resulted in his penis being burnt off. His parents were devastated by this, and after hearing of their son's accident, they decided against having his brother Brian circumcised, whose phimosis later cleared on its own. While questioning whether or not their son would be happy as a male with no penis, Their mother happened to be watching a show on television that featured a psychologist named Dr. John Money, who specialized in biology of gender and sexual identity. He appeared charismatic, intelligent, and confident, and he was also well respected and reputable in his field by his peers. He had a theory that gender was not something you were born into, but something learned through socialization and upbringing. The parents felt this was the answer to their son's problem, so they contacted Dr. Money and told him of their situation. Dr. Money invited them to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore to meet with him. After discussing the matter, the doctor convinced the parents that it would be in their son's best interest to raise him as a girl. So it began, that while his brother Brian was raised like a boy, Bruce was raised as a girl and was given the new name Brenda. At 22 months old, his testicles were removed, he was given dolls and other girlish toys to play with, pretty dresses to wear, and as instructed, they did not tell Brenda about his accident. He and his brother would both go to yearly appointments to see Dr. Money so he could keep watch on Brenda's progress. It's worth mentioning that the twins were a perfect experiment for him to test his nurtured not natured theory, given the circumstance that there were two of them from the same genes for him to compare to each other.
You see, right there, right at that very instant, that reminded me of something very famous, something very historical. Let me think. What was it that it reminded me of? Oh yeah, Joseph Mengele and all the experiments he used to do on the twins in the concentration camps. Yes. That is just yeah.
However, some issues arose. His parents and the doctor could see that he was showing more masculinity than he was feminine qualities. His brother Brian would share his toys with Brenda because Brenda was happier playing with things boys played with, and playing games that boys normally played. Brenda showed no sign of feeling like a female. If Brenda didn't fully accept being female as his identity, it would disprove Dr. Money's theory and his book about gender being a result of social construction. At 7 years old, the boys started to be subjected to more sexualized experiments, like being asked what the differences are between boys and girls, and taught the sexual roles played by men and women. The doctor would make them role-play the positions themselves, like Brian standing behind Brenda and leaning his crotch against his brother's behind. He would also force the boys to inspect each other's genitals. On one occasion, he had the children undress and took nude photographs of them. If the children did not do as asked, the doctor would yell at them, to the point where they thought they would be struck. The children did not like the sessions with the doctor, but they didn't tell their parents what was going on. It was also around this age, Dr. Money tried talking Brenda into going through an operation that would completely change his parts to what he told Brenda they were supposed to look like a girl. Brenda was very scared of the thought and refused. Later on, when Brenda was becoming a teenager, the doctor made one last attempt to convince him about the operation. He invited another patient of his, a transgender female who had undergone an operation willingly, to talk with Brenda. It was after this that Brenda told his parents that he would kill himself if he had to see the doctor again.
I won't spoil the rest of the story for you. If you'd like to see the full video, I'm going to leave a link in the description. His channel is great, by the way, so watch the rest of that one, and subscribe to his channel. I am of the belief that most likely the official government experiments on just transgenders as a whole started during Barack Obama's presidency. See, when he started allowing transgenders in the military, and not just allowing transgenders in the military, but they were able to get their gender confirmation surgeries and hormones provided by the military. Now, we know that the government has had a long history of doing experimentations on its own people, and especially its military. They're the perfect guinea pigs. And this was even more perfect because, well, I'll go ahead and let Blair White explain.
Sex work and prostitution is rampant in the transgender community. If you didn't know, in the trans community, sex work is very, very common. Whether it's porn, prostitution, escorting, there's a lot of that. And I'm not here to bash sex work or sex workers. If that's what you choose to do in life, that's what you choose to do, okay? It's not for me, and part of the reason why I've never felt at home in the trans community is because there is so much sex work, but I really am not judging. That sounds kind of judgmental, but I swear I'm not. When I was 18 or 19, before I started transitioning, you guys know I started at 20, I was in a really bad place in my life. I had no money, I had no job, my father had just died, I had no real path in life, no real direction, and I had this looming cost of transition over my head, as most trans people do. You might not understand it, but a lot of trans people feel as though to live their best life, to operate through society in a productive way, they have to transition. That's how I felt at 18 or 19 years old. And with all this going on and really not knowing how to get any of it done, I turned to the trans community, my peers, for advice, for help, for guidance. I went to trans support groups in my city. I joined online groups, and what I was met with was really discouraging. Anytime I sought help from any of the trans people in those groups, I was met with the same answer. If you want to get the money, if you want to get your surgeries, if you want to be successful, escorting, prostituting, or porn. And all of them had convinced themselves and were starting to convince me that the only route to go was sex work if you're trans. You couldn't get any other job. You couldn't be a professional. You couldn't have a career. No one will respect you. You have to have sex for money.
Now, for somebody not wanting to go into sex work, joining the military and having them pay for it seems to be a great alternative solution. So this is perfect. They're willing participants in this government experiment. Now, being that transgenders being allowed in the military and having everything paid for did not last very long at all, the ban on openly transgender troops was lifted on June of 2015. And then, of course, we all know it ended after Donald Trump became president. So that didn't last that long at all. I think that that's just even more proof that that was an experiment. Because in all reality, it's really not a good idea to have transgender troops. And I know a lot of people are not going to like me saying that, but hear me out on this. I believe that we should all be held up to equal standards when it comes to being deemed fit to serve in the military. Having a medical condition that requires daily medication has already been something that disqualifies a person from serving in the military for many, many years now. Okay? You can be denied for being flat-footed. My nephew was denied for having eczema. Okay? So I don't see why it should be any different for transgender people who require daily hormone treatments if we're all to be treated equally. And having a medical condition that requires you to take medication on a daily basis makes you a liability to the military, not an asset, especially on the battlefield. And I'm sorry, but service in the military, just like any job, is not a human right. It's something you have to be qualified to do in the first place. To me, it seems like there are just red flags all over the place to suggest that this is a government experiment on a pretty large scale. Have you seen the show I Am Jazz? Well, did you see the episode where she finally got her bottom surgery? She looks like some sort of mad scientist's friggin' science experiment.
I'm re-entering the world.
And then you're gonna feel one more bump. See?
Do you need a lift?
Someone needs to lift on the other side as well.
I didn't think that bump would be that bad.
Takes a village.
You okay?
I'm good.
Okay, good.
I hope that seat is all the way pushed back already.
I'm gonna take this off, okay, now?
Okay. I just want to get up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should have warned you about that.
Okay. Getting out of the wheelchair, the leg thing snaps down and I feel a pop. And with it, I felt this crazy pain. I felt like an incision just popped. I just don't know what's going on.
Is it working? I don't really know how to pee.
It's the same thing, Jazz. Just push. Run some water. That always helps.
I don't know, nothing's really coming out. Mom, can you come help me? I need new gauze and a new pad.
Welcome to womanhood.
Are you freaking kidding me? Welcome to womanhood? What is this welcome to womanhood shit? I don't ever remember having my vaginal cavity packed with gauze and bleeding and not being able to pee and incision popping and all that other crap being some rite of passage that welcomed you into womanhood. I mean, what the fuck? Welcome to womanhood? Kiss my ass.
I don't know what to do.
That's barely any blood.
No, look at all this.
That's nothing. You should see when you get your period.
Now you know this bitch is delusional. Lady, Jazz is never gonna get a period. Okay? You think you were cute? You think you were funny making that little comment? For fuck's sake.
When Jazz was little, I helped her with her diapers. She's not quite in diapers now, but you know, it's all bodily functions. Never thought I'd be here again, but there I am. I'm still her mommy. No, that does not go. Women do not throw pads in the toilet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd that go?
That was a fail.
It was a fail.
But she learned that you can't throw sanitary napkins in the toilet.
Yesterday, Jazz was getting progressively upset because her wounds were definitely separating and she formed like a blister, it's almost like a blood blister. I sent a picture to Dr. Ting, Dr. Bowers, and he's gonna make a decision right now if she's gonna go back in the OR or not. I'm just like freaking out. I don't even know, so many mixed feelings. I'm like, this is not happening. Maybe I should take your temperature. He might ask if you have a fever.
This is basically like my worst nightmare, you know. The surgery was just going so excellent and the recovery process was perfect. And now all of the sudden, overnight, my vagina just like changed. And now it's something completely different.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Jazz, but that might be because you've never actually had a vagina to begin with. They turned your penis inside out and tried to make it look like a vagina. But that's not a vagina. You never have one. You never will. Sorry.
What'd they say? Oh, he's coming here.
He's coming here?
I am shaking inside. For him to come over based on a photo that I sent him, what does this mean? I'm really petrified.
Good morning. Hang out there.
Hey,
Hi.
how you feeling?
Okay. She took a shower. She changed her clothes.
Okay, let's take a look. You know, I was a little surprised. Jazz is young and healthy, and normally patients like that heal really quickly. But instead, it just looked like the sutures were starting to spread, and the color of the skin right along the edge of the wound, you want it to be nice and pink, but it was looking dusky, kind of bluish, which can be a sign of too much tension, there not being enough blood supply. So I was pretty worried at that point. She's separated a little bit on both sides, which again, we did kind of know was a possibility, but there wasn't a lot of skin, so I'm just worried that everything here is under a lot of tension. I don't want, you know, that last stitch to pop and then everything will just go, whoosh, you know, like a window shade.
I feel dizzy, lightheaded, nauseous, and sad. And I hate to use the word nightmare, so I'm not going to say it's a nightmare, but this is so far from anything I ever imagined. This is not where she thought she would be at this point.
Gee, who would have thought that taking your son's underdeveloped penis and having a doctor mutilate it by turning it inside out, well, who would have thought that anything would ever go wrong? Huh, imagine that.